So about a year ago or so, I took a look at the budding and exciting world of PlayStation 4 emulation on PC, because it's something I'm genuinely interested in. I'm the king of emulation, I'm the king of PlayStation YouTube, so of course it is right up my alley. Now, it's a thing that I think is very important because you have games and really demos that were released on the PlayStation 4 that unless you have a hacked PlayStation 4, you'll never be able to access these things. I didn't have a PlayStation 4 when the PT demo came out. Of course, that was removed from the storefront, so unless you downloaded it during that time frame, you'll never be able to play PT the way it was intended to be played. So things like that make PlayStation 4 emulation, in my opinion, very, very important. Of course, we took a look, like I said last year, at FPPS4, a PlayStation 4 emulator for the computer, and really, it was a little bit wonky to set up. You had to do a bunch of different stuff, download this file, that file, the other file, and really, you couldn't do a whole hell of a lot with it. Sonic Mania looked and ran very well, but most everything else didn't really work all that great. I've been hearing about large strides made within the PlayStation 4 emulation community, however, and I wanted to check them out for myself. So I went ahead and re-downloaded FPPS4, downloaded some games, and well, it was pretty much the same. It was pretty much the same as it was a year ago. So I was kind of confused by this as to why everyone is hyping up PlayStation 4 emulation and all of these large leaps that are being made. And that's because there's a new PlayStation 4 emulator out there, and it's really turning a lot of heads. It's called Shad PS4, and this is something that I think is going to be a very, very big deal. So we're going to take a look at the emulator itself, where to get it, how to set things up, and what this emulator could do, but more importantly, what this emulator has done in a very small amount of time, and what this means for the future of PlayStation 4 emulation. All right, so obviously we need the emulator. We're going to go into Google and type in Shad's PS4. Now, like I said, this is a very new emulator. You can see that version 0.1.0 just launched on July 2nd. And they're already making some pretty crazy strides that we have not seen other PlayStation 4 emulators do in just a very short amount of time. So a lot of people are very excited for this emulator because it seems like the growth of it is already well beyond that of what we've seen from other PlayStation 4 emulators. You simply click on downloads and you download the appropriate one. I really didn't know what the difference was here. I downloaded the QT version that has the GUI because I don't know. That's just what I went with. Of course, we're going to take our folder and extract it. And as you can see here, we don't need to do a million different folders. It's all set up already. You don't have to do a bunch of stuff like you had to do with FPPS4. Now, you do have to have your games in package format, but if you're downloading games, most of them will already be in that PKG format. So there is a thing that you can do in order to change it if you have to. I have a few games downloaded here as well. As you can see, most of these settings and stuff, they're kind of very early access. Really, none of them are working all that great. You can click the cog, you can click the controller, nothing doing. But like I said, this just came out 3 days ago. Now, I did try out PT because this is what I was probably the most excited for and hopeful that it would work. But as you can see, we double click it and, well, we don't have PT running on this bad boy quite yet. It ends up just shutting down on its own, and then we have to reopen it. I mean, not the biggest deal in the world here, but I did want to mention it because that's really why I want this emulation here. Armello also doesn't work either, but you could see like it is recognizing these games. Now with Sonic Mania, that was one of the games that FPPS4 really used very well and it worked very well with. And as you can see here, they already have this game up and running, but you got to see how it's actually running. FPPS4 as it stands now in 2024, I was able to get about 60 frames per second the entire experience that I messed around with it, so I wasn't quite sure what I was going to get with this emulator. Now you might be wondering, well, why am I using a small screen? Why don't I blow it up so that it looks nice and pretty? Well, this is how Shad PS4 runs right now. It doesn't have the ability to make it all full screen, but it just came out, like I said, 3 days ago at the time of the filming of this video. And as you can see here, the performance is actually pretty good. Here's where I kind of messed around with some stuff and tried to adjust some settings to well, no avail. But you can see, you know, it's running good, and I will show some gameplay to show you how it's running. But this is like, this is what they have up and running like right now with version 0.1.0. And really at the end of this video, we're going to see probably the most exciting part of all of this. But you can see here's gameplay. Like, this is the PS4 version of the game running. Since controller support doesn't seem to be active right now, I am using a keyboard, and I was trying to figure out the buttons. Like, don't shame me here. Like, I'm recording, I'm taking notes as I'm doing it, and I'm trying to figure out the buttons. But you can see, you know, I did eventually get it working. The number pad was actually my friend to jump on this, and I'm using the directional buttons. But like, this is super cool. You know, it's running pretty solid, I feel. You know, there is some VSync issues and stuff like that. A little bit of a frame rate hiccup, but in the amount of time that this emulator has been released, it's ridiculous that anything is even running on it, period. The audio is exactly how it should be as well. But like I said, I'm more excited for the future of this emulator because they're already making like some insane strides with it. And when I show you guys what they actually have booting that no other emulator has booting just within 3 days of this is why I wanted to download something like PT, because I feel like the future is very bright here. But the most impressive thing about Shad PS4 is that they are already able to boot up Bloodborne, which no other PS4 emulator that's out right now can actually do. And they managed to do this within a few days. Now, the game itself, you're not running the game, you're not actually able to play the game, but it boots it up. And that is a huge, huge leap in PlayStation 4 emulation that we haven't seen that sort of stuff in a very, very long time as far as the growth is concerned. So overall, this is a huge leap for PlayStation 4 emulation in 2024. We haven't been really getting many updates of FPPS4, but with this new emulator, Shad PS4, it seems like there's a lot of work and a lot of time going into this, and the progress that they've made in such a short amount of time, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year, some people were actually able to run Bloodborne in some way, shape, or form on their PC. Something that people have been wanting, a PC port of this game, for a very long time. For me personally, though, I want to see PT up and running. I think that would be super exciting and super awesome, considering that there's no legal way to play PT's demo right now, and it's something that I have never experienced. So I'll have a link to Shad's website in the description box down below. I highly suggest you check out this emulator because with the growth that we're already seeing with it, I feel like this is something that's going to be growing day by day. If you're looking for constant updates about Shad PS4 in form of YouTube videos, I highly suggest checking out Mr. Sujano. Mr. Sujano, no. Check out his channel. He's always talking about emulation news. He's the real king of emulation. I'm just the court jester. But let me know if you plan on checking this out and what sort of growth you're expecting to see with Shad PS4. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel and you learned something today, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're nearly at 500,000 at the time of the filming of this. We're like 1,020 subscribers away from it or something like that. So let's go ahead and get there. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.